Welcome to our Alchemy of Movement interview series. I am so pleased to introduce you to one of my dearest, closest friends in the entire world, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is going to be doing a workshop here that she's going to tell us a little bit more about. It's going to be coming up this coming Saturday between the hours of 1 and 3 at the studio, and it's part of our Alchemy of Movement interview series. So we're going to take this time to talk a little bit with Elizabeth about what she's offering and why you don't want to miss it. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes.
Tell all of us.
Okay. Well, I should pull out my matching tattoo right here, but yeah, because we both have actually Maitri tattoos. We went through a training program here in Boulder, Colorado, the Contemplative Psychotherapy program, and we learned about this. And maybe I'll go into that a little bit more in the future.
Yeah,
but
that sounds good.
So we have this degree, a master's in contemplative psychotherapy, and I'm a psychotherapist in the community. I work in a variety of areas. I have a private practice. I do some work, therapeutic work with Boulder Burlesque, and I work with the CPW here in town, which offers team and different individual styles of treatment for people.
Yeah, so Elizabeth's an amazing therapist in town, and we work really closely together a lot. And so the program that we graduated from, this symbol is the Maitri symbol. Could you say a little bit about Maitri and what that means?
Sure. So one of the best translations that they have is this term unconditional friendliness. And the idea is that you're not just unconditionally friendly towards others, but also with yourself. And it's because we're psychotherapists, we really focus on having that towards our mind states and others' mind states at all times. And so that's something that I wanted to really work with through movement as well, and helps us too in terms of embracing all of the different types of energies, all the different types of emotions that may arise.
Yeah, so it's really like a type of befriending, you would say, like a befriending
Absolutely.
of things that maybe aren't the easiest to normally befriend. Even would you say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know my experience of it is, often when I tell people, I just give them like a one-liner about this symbol. I'll say, this is about loving oneself. Befriending oneself is another way of saying that, but it's also specific to the parts of you that are super hard to love. And I think every time I say that message, I'm like reminded of it myself. It's like reminding myself of the energy of Maitri, because people will say, what is that? And it's just always like an opportunity to sort of extend that. So for those of us that struggle with our difficult mind states out there, and so some people in the audience, this might be a familiar concept to you, this might also be a new concept. Can you say a little bit about maybe even some of your own personal challenges with like some of the areas that you've learned to embrace more of this like Maitri principle with?
Absolutely. So in Maitri teachings, they have different colors and different poses for each of the different energy states that you're working with, and so that's something that we'll be having in the workshop when we're dancing, is to elicit different movements, dance movements, and different music, and also lighting to elicit this energy from us. But one that has been really difficult for me is something that's actually the blue, which is something that's a little bit, I think, easier for you, Jenna, which is interesting, and you've taught me a lot about, which is this, they call Vajra energy. And what I've found is that it's about being kind of cutting through things, cutting through bullshit in some ways, right? But also kind of rigidity, and I would have turned that in a negative way towards myself. And so I would find that whenever I was in that pose and doing meditation in that pose, that I would feel a lot of these old feelings, especially that I had when I was a younger person with an eating disorder. A lot of my neurosis, I think, was caught up in that energy in a negative way. And what is great about the playing just with the raw energy is that I could just see the energy for what it is. It's not fun to sit with or maybe move, but I think also building movement into this practice is something that I've been working with and experimenting with more recently. That's something I want to share with the community because it's helping me not become so static and stuck with it.
Yeah.
But to be more playful with it, to not be so afraid of that energy, to notice where actually I could find that no bullshit part of myself and not just the cutting myself.
Right. And it's almost with movement, you can like almost externalize it a little. It's less inward. It's like more, you can push it or work with it or move with it.
Exactly.
Like today in dance class, for example, and I think a lot of probably people who are listening can really resonate with this, but I felt this, I had come from a therapy session that I was personally in, and I was having a lot of emotion, and I came to a dance class and I felt it, and I was like moving straight through that one space. And it was like, I was like, this is one of the one places where whatever feeling I'm feeling can be just expressed so fully without shame or without judgment or without trying to fix or change it. It just can move with.
Yes.
You know, so I could see that movement pairing so well with this practice. This is a bit revolutionary. Do you think you'll go on to do it like ongoing, or is this sort of a one-time, one-shot
Oh
hit?
no, I would really like to do it ongoing, and I just want to, this is kind of my first public piece with it. It's something I've been sharing intimately with, friends and working with on myself. And I'm really excited that I'm getting to do this here at Alchemy. It's something that I imagine, is going to continue to be part of my practice. Where I actually got the idea was reading the book of the woman who started the 5 Energies dance, and I just realized she created this out of just her own experience and her own life teachings and what was good medicine essentially for her.
Yeah.
And that the Maitri, the teachings around Maitri have been incredible medicine for me and so many people that I know. And so why not pair that with movement and dance?
Yeah.
And I also have never been part of a movement group where they're specifically just, stating or just naming that we're working with this emotion right now, right? And so this is something that, again, it's as therapists, we have a big bias towards, but something I'm really excited about to offer to, because I have so many people, clients and loved ones and people who say, I want to work with this emotion, I want to work with these energies, and sometimes it's difficult to do that through more traditional classes and things like that. So,
Yeah, I think the naming is so, but I could just see, so in the Buddha families, I know I'm sort of asking you questions that I already know the answer to, but I have some, but like in terms of these energies, like what emotional states will you be accessing? Like what's the range of experience that you're going to be looking at?
Well, you can help me with a little bit.
I can,
sure. Yeah, so I'll speak about a few. One of the ones that we're going to be starting with in the dance to warm us up is the Ratna energy. What they call Ratna energy. And Ratna is yellow. Okay, so we'll have yellow lights going. And if you can imagine, like, Here Comes the Sun song, we're going to be doing movements that are really warm, and some of the teachings around this energy are that it's like honey, right? So just a really good warm up, nice and embracing, and so that's one. And some of the negative emotions that may come up around this is feeling like maybe like you don't have enough, maybe feeling like, you can help me a little bit with this. Not feeling, kind of, they call it the hungry ghost, right?
Yeah.
So
always seeking and never being satiated or never being satisfied, and always being so hungry, but never actually ever being to be able to reach completion or a sense of like fullness.
Yeah, and the wisdom aspect is the opposite of that. It's
generosity and
rich and having abundance. Yeah. So, but that's something that if the first one that we'll be warming up with.
Yeah.
And then probably then moving into the Vajra energy, which is blue, which will get a little bit amped up, right? Get a little bit explosive movements. And the idea again is to work with rigidity towards yourself and others, right? In the energy, and it'll be music that brings out probably don't hurt yourself,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Beyonce, some
anger.
part of the music to work with anger, exactly. And another piece we'll work with is the green, right, which is going to be working with, in some ways it's very much like the American view of things, which is get shit done, I'm being totally efficient, but the negative part of that can sometimes be kind of going around in a circle of chaos and not actually getting anything done well. Just multitasking out the roof, right?
Yeah. Or moving so fast that you lose connection and connectivity.
Exactly.
But then on the wisdom side, it's like effectiveness, effective action. A lot of us have to be in this green energy just to make the green in this country.
Right, and they call it karma in this teaching. So so then that'll be how green lights will be probably doing some like disco, like fast songs that'll also be like quick movements, right? And working with those. Do you want to say a little bit about
the next energy that
Padma,
which is
Padma
yours, is more. So each of these energies, we usually embody one primary and like a secondary, possibly. And so I would say my primary is Padma. My secondary is this maybe blue energy that she's speaking to. And Padma is a very relational energy. It's very connective. It's very sensual. It's very seductive. It likes to be the center and have attention. And in the more neurotic aspect, it's sort of that like FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like it's always better over there, and I wish I was connecting over there, or sort of like a jealousy almost, or you see things manifesting, and you're like, why am I not in that energy? So that's a little bit.
So we'll get the red lights going and have kind of seductive music going, some more sexy movement, right?
Yeah.
And last one being Buddha energy,
which is her primary,
which is my primary. And this was actually really interesting when I was creating this, because Buddha is sort of tricky and elusive in some ways. It's white color, and it's opening up into the wisdom aspect is spaciousness, all pervasive spaciousness. And so that's really accepting and being open to all different experiences and just being so accommodating. And on the other hand, it can be kind of like deadened. Like it's that person like you would see on some sort of TV shows, like the quote unquote, pothead who just is like stuck on the couch and can't do anything and is ignorant of the world around them, right?
Yeah.
And that's the neurotic, but because it's just such the teaching is such an open and spacious thing, I was looking into music that talked about that sort of openness, and in some ways it was getting really like almost dark and a little too dark, I think, for ending. So what I've been playing with recently is just the music of just opening up to exploring freedom, and things like the Beatles' Blackbird, so these again trying to acknowledge the neurosis but really encourage the more wisdom aspects of all of these energies.
Oh, it's so exciting! It's so exciting. So I'm gonna pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
This is coming up, and I don't know what that means. I don't think we lost anything, but so we're almost, unfortunately, at our time here together. But I feel like this has been such a good taster for people to get sort of a really quick and dirty version of these different families. And what is the hope for people to come out of this with when they leave? I know it's kind of an experiment, but even for you, what have you noticed that you've experienced in the practice yourself or with the people that you've been doing it with?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a combination for me of like a really good therapy session and a really good dance session. When I come out the other side, I'm like, woof, I feel relieved. I feel like I've moved through some things, and that's what I think I really would hope for this class is that the idea is that we don't have to be stuck in any one energy. They're all accessible to us all the time. That the wisdom is accessible to us all the time, and we can be with the neurotic, and it's okay. So just that acceptance, that the feeling of movement and fluidity.
Yeah, especially if any of those have felt like stuck
exactly
at some point, that this is a way of kind of touching in
exactly
and moving with and having this, it sounds like a really release.
Yes.
Yeah. So exciting! I hope that you guys can make it. This workshop will be this Saturday. It's gonna be a blast. Come as you are and dance it out. Mwah. We'll keep you posted if she decides to make it a regular thing. Fingers crossed.